음,
쇼고들이
쇼부 딜레기나.
거의 된다.
단다 메소는 요기나.
아,
카시노 딜레서.
안에
딜리는 니마지 마 병로체 병로스마 메서.
안에 믹스기 저어딘 US 라
So if you have any specific questions or um, um, anything that you like to know, we can discuss on that.
Peter.
Morning, Geshe. I've been mulling over how to put this question to you for some time. We've learned about the death and emptiness, but I was wondering if a practitioner manifests with dementia or Alzheimer's, what happens then to their commitments and vows?
음,
고선
근데 너 저디 들이샤. 당주 남기다 동반이 콜스 섬나 타야라 소바트네 망부시 난게요라.
어레
아니 이 근데 망부시나 니카브링 한주 로 게르드 칸니 탄다 나사 망부시레 용다게. 로야 게르드 템바 제르베 나사라우다 근데 망부시리도. 안 텐딜레 비카블라 아니 수수기 지 파게 담시 켈렌 샤조레 아니 지 스탁 망부시 장샤라 디조 칸디 카르차도레스 디조 템바 지베 나살라소 나나 디조 미시 도바로 켄도르에세
레다케 지당이 튀어 망치에서 튀어 렌치는 레게게 이던데 피터 캐랑기 있더라 이 갑도 렌치 피고스라 이 첨부도지 또 미망부 샘나야 아 코파사 셴바치 드스서스
Yes. What I usually do is to kind of collect more questions and ask them in together. But today I'll first try to deal with this question that it is important.
Tadigi teo digi lengi chik gyabzhong gi netsu do chik yakbu chik hama koba na tende nga zu tokpa ki yagi shi chenpu chik redo asira.
So um, I think it's crucial to know little background about this question as well. Otherwise, it might raise further questions.
Tenzang da shib tsakbu chik to ni ma shu na yan sivu chayal kali kago redo asira.
Yes.
Tenpa jegi marisi lawa yana tenpa jegi kora nga zu ngonsum tongo rada.
And if we also don't discuss this in detail, it will also be complicated because such kind of issues do happen in real time, real life.
And these pita charangi gyundengi pe na yedam doji jikshiki 냠내 nangi yoba tingi chik kosong srat. Peshi kērāng yedam doji jikshiki ta pe ani dājien dēyān ta di chik tī tola chaya di kērāng ta namju gawu yoba tingi chiriwa sira.
Yes. And for instance, you are I was told that you are a practitioner of Yamantaka Jigje, practitioner of Yamantaka and do the sadhanas on the regular basis.
Di jidi yedam doji jikshiki chugor di ani chi do nga nyi chi na nga ki chugor di res. 아니 나기 최고 그 운도다버디 너희 최고디 샤고라스라 아니 나기 최고 무시다 그랬어 양 나기 최고 그 난셀야 규디 시치온디 아니 자기 주기는 줄라나미 규스라온디 따지 규기 내든 탈투바디 나기 최고 그 따지 아니 양제 숨바다버디 아니 nenjullanami lami gyuti chagwarasra lami gyu nangi ta chi idam doji chi chugor dita zo chi chagwaresra zo chi chagwaras
So far as the practice of Yamantaka is concerned, it is a practice of Vajrayana tradition, and as a preliminary to Vajrayana tradition, we should have a very kind of solid foundation of sutra as well. And within the Vajrayana, there are four classes of Tantra tradition. And the Yamantaka practice belongs to the category of highest Yoga Tantra practice.
teni nenjullanami bigi gyu nanglola ya ani zo di vesel seti vesel dela ya yuji vesel chida yujing vesel nishani yujing vesel nyungmal hinji jibi yishi seti tsartun dunyaki 탑기 냠nenchi 거레스 디살도 땡고 거레스로 디 수군도 제체니 텐트위 뉴멀 힌지 집이 이시디게 동번이 곰니 드로마투바이나 아니 상기야직 싸우니 연구요 말했더라.
And within the practice of highest Yoga Tantra, there is the most profound practice is the so-called practice of clear light practice. And clear light, there are subjective clear light and objective clear light. And here we are mostly referring to the subjective clear light, practice of subjective clear light. So in order to kind of actualize the Buddhahood, we must try to actualize the subjective clear light, and without realizing or without actualizing the subjective clear light of emptiness, it is not possible to attain Buddhahood.
그러다 뉴멀린지 집이 이시디 nganzudaji lamla mashubi negavso tangondu kyuyag tu pikecheshu di chisam chami negavso mado ani ngondu kyuyag da peshe mewa dojires da chisam chami negavso nyuman hinji kibi sem di ngondu kyurchene ani tse pyodo namshed pyodo gores da nyuman hinji kibi sem ngondu makyur kongla nganzu namshe ragba yonsu zobadi 아니 가르고요레스 라
Yes. So, so in order to kind of actualize, or in order to make this subtle clear light mind manifest, there are all the gross mind should dissolve, and the only time where this subtle mind manifests is during the time of death. During the time of death, when the gross consciousness dissolve into more subtle, and the most subtlest form of the consciousness get manifested.
다 남시 라반 가로인데 템바 라바 간지 뉴말 힌지 집이 이시기 마인 비기 따지 샘 카인 바디 아니 샘드 라바 차고레스 간주 아니 류그 짜롱래 땡데비기 샘 첸디기 류그 짜롱래 땡데비기 남시 카인 바디 남시 라바 차고레스 첸디기 레자라 하장 뜻습 쳔고레다스라 아니 레자디 냠온디 텔레 템비기 템바디 냠로기오레스 먼저 류기온디 가르스나 아니 레베자기 자와지야 된 용도거라다 간지 러 옹보 다 오니 추게 있지나 아니 원보디기디 원보디 레자리 페시 차옹 차그레스러 원보디기디 레자된 한주 비기 로그나는 통투거라 원보 숙진 당원디 로그나는 통해서 기어 말았으러 딘디고 원보디 아니 류기 차시레스 류디기 차시레스 차진 류디 막 고용디 델 댐비기 차시 원보디안 곱르그레스 원보디 막 고용디기 원보레 댐비기 아니 남시디기 대 곱르그레스 템버 제르그레스
Mm. Um, so um, when um, the gross minds dissolve into even more subtle forms of mind, all the um, all the kind of consciousnesses or all the minds also dissolve. Um, so when that happens, what actually happens with us is that um, since all the gross mind are dependent on the physical faculties, um, and when the physical faculty deteriorates, the mind or the consciousness which are dependent on such faculties will also deteriorate, meaning as we age, our body deteriorates, and when our body deteriorates, our uh, the brain or even the subtlest form, a more subtle form is the so-called the subtle faculties of the mind, subtle faculties. Uh, they also kind of their potential or their power also deteriorates. And when it happens, all the minds which are dependent on the faculties will also deteriorate. Since uh, um, these faculties are part of the body, and when the body deteriorates, the faculties will also deteriorate, and when the faculties deteriorates, the gross consciousness, which are dependent on such faculties, will equally deteriorate.
딜다 디임바이나 땅 안쪽이다 직 동반이 곰 잔주쌤 곰는다 거범문도 일단 가르고도 삼성기 템바디 제르고도 엄복코 원디다 코르고도 삼바이나 디양 거범에바 말레스 라 왕보 왕보라 템비 남시 락비 네겁소 남시 락비 자와집이 네겁소 가주 툭툭기 아니 잔주고 쌤당 아니 동반이라야 아니 검지 때 투바이나 디기 박차지야 샘팅라 샤게요레스 하장기 개정부 차고레스 양 닌디 컴퓨터기 마 컴컴컴 탈 아니 지 남시라바 디기디마 가온디 온본 가온디 아니 쳇섬 참에 내급서 치워서 온도 좋은디 아니 대마타도 컴비 또기 아니 치워서 디야 아니 동반이라판 죽투야기 귤을 두고 요레스 귤을 두고 요레스 대서 쳇섬 참에 내고서 동반이 곰투 와는 하장 랍쳔보 다 densan chanso koyore da ji ani gomba zoni tukdamla shudu sedi teresta chewa wesa ngondu kyondi chewa wesa tombanila tseju nyamba shani shuba tela ani tukdamla shuba di chagayores tanda ngoma di chagayores densan ganso tanda negobso chewa wesa ngondu kyul tugu yo marda karsa nyungman hinji jibi ishi ngondu kyul matu na ya namshi ragbi negobso kazu tupdugi riba drumni gom gyavne 아니 티치긴 바이나 아니 뉴만 힌지 집이 이시도 온도 집이 내급수 아니 하장기 펜도 첨부 차고 그랬어 디만도 센들 딘디 가야 로카 마셔와나 치섬 참에 내급수 나나 망이 불러진 온도 결신이 아니 체표줘야 마도 펜도 가요 말했어
Yes. So during the time of the death, or when the gross consciousness dissolve, all the memories, all the kind of minds which are not subtle will also dissolve, and in because of that, you might wonder that there is no point of contemplating about and kind of studying about emptiness because it will eventually dissolve, or it will eventually kind of disappear, or you might wonder there is no point of contemplating on emptiness. However, that is not the case, because when the gross mind are manifested, the more we try to familiarize ourselves with regard to emptiness or with regard to body cultivation of bodhicitta and so on and so forth, it will leave a imprint or rather impression in the subtle consciousness. Um, and and when the clear light mind of death gets manifested, when the subtle mind get manifested, sometimes these imprints will get activated. Um, and for instance, when the clear light mind get manifested, if you could transform that mind, or if you could now contemplate on emptiness with that clear light mind, then it become extremely powerful and impactful. Um, and you might have heard that many great practitioners went into the Thugdam, or what we call as the clear light meditation. So during that time, what really happens is that they are dwelling their mind, their subtle clear light mind, on emptiness and remain on that. So that is what we know as the clear light meditation, or clear light, or Thugdam. So when the practitioners passed away, their body remains intact for a couple of days, depending on the individual practitioner. So during that time, they are in fact using, kind of utilizing their clear light mind, meditating on emptiness. So the point is that when the gross mind are active, we must try to um, kind of familiarize ourselves and try to leave imprint on the subtle mind, so that when the subtle mind get manifested, we could kind of utilize that. Otherwise, if we are not familiarized with this concept, then when our clear light mind, or when the subtle mind gets manifested, we won't be able to utilize this, and only um, we won't be able to kind of seize that uh, to contemplate on the subtle consciousness.
Thank you. Looks too old. Yes.
Yes. Good morning, Geshe. Thank you. Good morning, Sangha. Thank you. So I'm currently reading, there's a book in the bookstore. A ref, I might be combining two separate topics into one. So please pardon if there's any confusion with that. I'm still working it out. Um, okay, I'm going to jump to the next one. It'll just be simpler. What is the role of the lay people within the Sangha if it is not in our calling to become monastics? And is it to then, one idea that I'm wrestling with, is it to develop bodhicitta and step into the role of a bodhisattva within everyday society? Thank you.
비친 디숭이 있어야겠다. 단다 아니 당한서 미개주여라. 미개도서 아니 다 긴드발때 디스 랭겐로지 카리어레스 라 아니 코랑기 치송에나 지당한 지게 당부 chanju ki sem jeba che ni ta chanju ki sem chanju samba gyuru ra ti chu tsabi jesu la ani ko jizo la pa chik pendi dhubya la soba di jire sambudu di chiza ane micha da suzu ki lenge khari sero chireshi.
미격 랭긴 가레스.
No?
다 지땅기 단 당이 넘버 산지비 추구 토니. 다 주디 톤. 다 계란을 렌지 표현으로. 아니 nganzu mitsi töndan demba chiyadi ani rangi ta lenging tsu di ani mitsi töndan demba chiyadi shar ngunzin dindaw chiyores ro.
Yes. I'll try to answer from the point of view of Buddhist principle, Buddhist point of view. So from Buddhist point of view, the most kind of important role for any individual is really to make one's life meaningful.
다 mitsi töndan demba silawandi chidan shenla rogba chiyadi ta hajangi yakburo wasro. Imay naya 다 개체슈 디 아니 수수 가르치 투그레스 라 만주다 류가 익스미어라 만주 류가 익스미어레 만주 류가 익스미 지단기 심진 상물로라야 있다 라 베나 tunrulaya 요르다 요르와스 임바이나야 tunru다 만드라비 만줄라야 아니 류지 용거래 아니 류 텔 템비 남주지 용거래 안 텔 템비기 지 파주 코다테야기다 지 계제시야지 등안줄라 밀라다 토모 많이 바지 티어라스라 다디 추수스 만도야지 딘디지 토비야 딘디지 여바디 배주 약보 땅야디 다 미소소수기 다 랭겐 소 딘디도지 원지치 난 디거레스라.
So from generally speaking, of course, helping others is a very important aspect. Um, but as an individual, we are composed of body, speech, and mind, and it's really crucial to think what can we do from our own body, speech, and mind. As a human being, we all have this unique body, and we all have this unique intelligence based on unique intelligence, which is not available in other species. So it's really crucial to think how can we make the most of these kind of precious qualities that we possess as an human. How can we make the most? How can we best use of our intelligence in life, and how can we utilize this in our life? It's really crucial to think on this.
타와다 아니 치야디야 된다 디 조르세레스 간지 소주 남주 릉아 익섬디 배주 된다 덴바식 제약이 아니 체도 타와다 아니 치샤주 제레마도 텔리 로스 치요 마레스 당가 메게 잉이 치 아니 류덴 상보디 트롤라드는 조 아니 남주 야부디 야기 만로는 만로 세소르 딘디 요 마르와스라 치바르와스.
And also the whole purpose of becoming monks and nuns is also to um, to make one's own life more meaningful. And even as a layperson, we can't kind of deny that we have to improve our own intelligence. So even as a lay practitioner, it is equally important to try to improve our intelligence.
랑안주 남주 디 도모 많이 받이 가르스나 nguyu netsul leya, nguyu bin niluk tola ya, samdang ya, jeba che tuya ki namchi jo rasra. Da di keche shu res. Nguyu netsul, nguyu bin niluk tola ya, ani samlo tang ya la, chagin che keche shu di, ani tsultrim dire to asra. Kaso nguyu bin niluk sila wandi, nguyu, da kaso da, ngone chani kain bati. ngone chani kain bati samlo tang ni, 전다 가르치고 왔을 때 오늘 전에 장부 장장티 다 덴바 된장기 계저시에 투야 덴바 단장기 내가 치투야 덴바 된장기 내가 치고 임바이나 진디 차와디 세워매 봐서 차고 그랬어 세워매 봐 차고 그랬어 세워매 비 차와디 간주 미기 랑신 랭기다 통바직 디차고 그랬어 디 세워매 비 차와디 시자디 아니 근데 술좀 송에 들으셨어. 디 지 랍존 포모지고 많이 방가서 지 아니 미참아로 미기 주분 술좀 송 거야지. 송 바이나 메세들이야 케벤 여봐. 깨워 치마 킬링이지 바이나 깨워 치마리야 디팽기 여봐. 랑라 디팽기 여봐. 이 젠라 디팽기 여봐. 학돈도 들음 니지번 디나로라야. 지금 언니 미기 주분 술좀 송인지 바이나 쑥 가나야 내가 지금 알았어. 나는 좀 뇌제 망탄. 강가 체슈디 뇌슈쟁이 망타위 강가디. 단 잠블리라 강가 체슈디 데려왔어. 다 대산로 임바나. 디 가는 연구였으나 술좀 마송이 초니 연구마도 술좀 송댕이들 뇌슈디 수치를 뇌슈쟁 말았어. 매기 주분 술좀 송댕이지만 수치를 내가 지금 말했어. 든지로지레스로다.
Yes. Mm. So we have this unique intelligence or intellect to analyze the nature of reality or analyze the nature of things. And in order to utilize these, the most crucial kind of practice is the practice of morality. If we have a very strong practice of morality, then it will lay a very kind of solid foundation to analyze our intelligence and to improve this accordingly. And when we talk about analyzing or realizing the truth, we're basically talking about how to deal with the this situation as it is, which is basically also a practice of non-violence, because the practice of non-violence and truth aligns with our basic human nature, and in this attempt to kind of attempt to realize the truth is not something that is only should be practiced by ordained members, but it is equally important for lay practitioner to practice these, and and as a basis for these, the practice of morality is also not something that should be that is kind of exclusive for ordained members alone, but as a lay practitioner as well, it is equally important to practice the morality, particularly the practice of 10 non-virtuous, 10 virtuous morality of the 10 virtuous deeds. And these kinds of basic morality principle or practice is beneficial for this life and also the subsequent life, and is all equally important and beneficial for oneself and for others as well. Because if we abide by the 10 virtuous actions, then it will not kind of harm others, or it will not cause any trouble to self and others. And particularly in this 21st century, we encounter many different problems that are particularly caused by not practicing the 10 virtuous deed. So if as an individual, if we could all practice 10 virtuous deeds as a foundation of one's morality practice, then it could also kind of protect ourselves from many potential problems and issues. So that's a very kind of important role as an individual practitioner.
다 미기 주변 것처럼 약부지 송체 되니 무빈 니츠 단 톰바지기 토니 아니 계지시에리 samlotayari 아니 자와지 들어봐야나 아니 디기 수직을 늘 말했더라 펜바마도 늘 말했다 딘지지는 로트고 바이나 아니 미신 딜레이나야 Geshe Tsultrim semba kibu pe yungu yores tarwa semba lolo pe yungu yores ta lu pigi ani gyurdo di ko ani lu korang rangshen re di ko drogre ma to ani sem di bak pebu uchin kibu uchin de tu gech Geshe Tsultrim yungu yores tarwa
So therefore, as an individual practitioner, if you could practice these 10 virtuous deeds, um, it will be beneficial for oneself and for others as well. And and as we age, our body is subject to change. But if we have very strong practice of the 10 virtuous deeds, our mind will always be at ease. There will be no kinds of tension in the mind.
Good morning, Geshe. I'm wondering if you would be so kind and speak about the importance of the relationship between the teacher and the student. And in particular, could you just speak about the transmission that happens between the teacher and the student, either formally or just by being around the teacher? Is that okay? Thank you.
Tunadiri shakya tiwa shenye tensu di kechimbo kaza yembe kola ani chik sonro chisra. Ani ta shenye tensu ki kapsu tangazo kasa lama dulumi parugi ndelam shiviragi di kandis chungu yeme di kola chik moto chiru chis.
tadi the number sanjibi chug tone shena donga ki chu nyamnen ching tone sheba na ta hajan ki nenga chagoras ra nenga chimbu shu chagores ting any shingoya di laglen tar goya ta yimba ina ya pena ta chi nangshu zawani ni nangshu meching ji la ya ani re chi lagdon de ta chi ani ta lomba dindi pen nangshu ta hajan chi ani kyap chunjong ro ji yosa lomba ji la ya ta shenyi ten so de shiu ji res la va na kazus na ro ge me ha ko mar was ro
Yes. Um, so again, from the point of view of a Buddhist practice, the relationship between the guru and the student or the guru devotion is a very important um, aspect of the practice. It's really important to understand this and to kind of also implement its essence. However, I'm not very certain how relevant it will be to discuss about this in the context um, where there are kind of non-practicing Buddhist and where Buddhist, practice is not very prevalent. So in this context, I'm not sure how relevant it will be to talk about Guru devotion.
다 신인 땐술 걸 시원디 아니 신인기 기위 신인 세대 야 문내기 기위 신인들 아니 수 종종 레모도 왔더라 수 종종 레모도 다 기위 신인 세대 그런 신이지요 신인 상위 기위 신인지 고도 왔더라 되니 기위 신이 땡긴기 소마 인바이나야 콜라야 캐치 고도 왔더라 다 딘디기 아니 개긴 원의 생년 상에 개주 소명 원의 생년 상에 딘디지 다 개긴들 로마체니 되니 아니 최 냠는 지기 바이나 개서자다 맞다 펜돌랍첸 준투고 열어서라
So when we talk about Guru devotion or relationship between the teacher and the disciple, it is important to understand that both teacher and the disciple should possess certain qualities to certain qualities. So we can't, everybody cannot be qualified as a teacher, and everybody cannot become a student. In order for them to become the teacher, they should possess certain qualities, and in order for someone to become the disciple also, they should possess certain qualities. So if all the mentioned qualities are present in the disciple as well as the teacher, and then based on these qualities, if we could engage in the practices, it will become effective.
안당한도 두즈 직시해 봐야 나로 소마당 라마당 소미기 바르키 뇨그다 망부 열어서 단잠불이나 뇨그다 배 망부 열어서 딘디기 뇨그다 예딩기 기위신인기 비인다 토니 뇨그다 용딩기 다 기긴지 열어서 기긴디 칸이 펩도 라 다디산 잠불이야 다 심주치야디 하장게 아니 미참하고 빼디 하장 감해져서 됐다 심주치야 곧다 세리바이난다 남바이난다 아니 지땅 미 균댕이 미난다 심주치야 돼 쇼지 도난치 거라서 디난신기 심주치야 돼 개침부라도 하서 개긴기 토니 견자 용대야 개긴디 간다진을 내샤스 가닐렌도스 심주치사기 시자 요레스 답변으로 개기만보 직디 남비 gomba dindigi lomnyer chechin gomba dindigi tenwa dindi yores ro ya kaji gomba lomnyer chesal je zawni nen ro mugwa che this is nyenchin tanga ani pet lama yins ngala chik pet yang chugu yins nge pe kewa ngama da chik tsu tengi yos o dindi yondenge mambu yorasra teni gomba tasan tengi gomba tasan la ya rimba mambu yores kebape mambu yores gomba tasan kashi gi gomba tasan re ma do chi law ni shu na mo go sa tin di yores gomba tasan kashi gi lo tun lo ni chechine lo ni shu sum chu lo jong chene shi ni ani gegin ten sa tin di yores lo ni chingi dia rab de chongchen 춘중 건데 rab도 총chen 마제 간자라야 지게촌고 동바 송치 디톨라야 베 쇼까bun가 라소바 롬니체니 롬니 텐 기시 텐이 아니 게긴 셰딩이 요레스 다드는 요다 용딩이 게게 만슈디 칸이 레도스 심죽 제반은 땡땡 안주 줌디 땡 투그러 와서라 다 줌디 땡이 당원이 요다 메사기 요다 총사 게겐기 용데 만사 가도 딘지 질래야 게비싱이 지세니 아니 난주직 장가인 바이나 땡땡 야부 요사리 삼삼 나를 서로디 예스라
Yes. So here, when we talk about the importance of Guru devotion, we also need to consider the kind of the scandals that we see occurring in this day and age, um, and it is really important for us to analyze and do some research about these unfortunate events, particularly with regard to scandals. Doing research and doing look into the background or doing research is a very important element for all the disciplines, whether you are a scientist or whether you are a Buddhist practitioner, or even in our day-to-day life, doing some research and engage with proper understanding and research and analysis is really important for any individual. So therefore, it is very important as a practitioner to do some research before we consider someone as our own guru or teacher. And we have to analyze where most of these scandals happen, what kind of, you know, people eventually become involved in such scandals and so on and so forth. So in this day and age, there are many people who become teachers, who become Buddhist teachers, and we need to analyze where these kind of people come from. And they are, so there are certain teachers who claim themselves to be reincarnated lamas, and then later they eventually become Buddhist teachers. And then there are some others who came from kind of small monasteries where their training is not very strong. Um, and then there are teachers who come from larger monastic institute who needs to go through a very rigorous training and practice. They need to go through the training for more than 20 to 30 years, and they all kind of train as a monastic by taking the vows of a monastic and eventually become a Geshe, and then they come to teach. So um, so there are many, sources, or there are many places where these teachers come from, and based on the past experience, if we do a little research and analysis, we can easily understand the potential, source of such scandals. We can easily see what kind of people will eventually become involved in such things. So it's really crucial to do a thorough research before we consider someone as our teacher. Uh, so after finding oneself as a qualified disciple, and once finding your teacher as a qualified one, then only if we start to engage in the practice, and then it will become more meaningful and effective.
Tanita 신인기 연대 약수 디 개체수 디 신인 토와 시와 예시와 세디 아 지선 잠번 공부 송으로 신인 토와 시와 예시와 연된 라고 주지롱기 세비다니 경아방라 댄스 다디 찬상와지다 아니 니에 각보레스 간사나 아니 직니 덴디 건부시오요레스 니니 소수 문 덴지지 제트고 그라스라 간저 소소소 로드마 드리본디 직 차단 유무 그 드리본디 아니 무빈네루 코란 통구요 말아스라 칼리치거레스 임바이나 딱 아니 개체슈디 소tum 글라베기 빼 아니 규르트 댕행기 기긴지 개 개체모레스 데니 강 소수기 장규 출라야 시세용인지 데니 nga 가든 디소르더라 가시기 소수 간시아바 될래야 소수 이체 요구입니다. 밀레시에 초고다. 딘디 마임바 게겐 코랑 가리 송바디 코랑 랑 될래바 야차 야담바 이체다 대바다 아디 메바 영인치 최디 슈바이나 땅문에 펜사레스 맞다 대상은 잠블리 나올이야다 아니 최시에 대해 총구소를 차로 지고라로 차고다 아니 피길이야 지 내가 그 콘솔에 가르 가고 연구위원회 때치는 시에니 아니 마도 소수 간시아도 소수 켈랭 고문다 대체바이나 아니 시행인들 로막 생이 상고 말했더라 전다 추 로고요 말했어 다 딘디 마힘바 또좀 백해정 보라셨어
So here, when we talk about relying on a qualified spiritual teacher, Maitreya Buddha has listed 10 qualities of a spiritual mentor or spiritual teacher, which includes the teacher should have a very strong practice of morality. One's mind should be pacified with the practice of morality. One should be well versed in the subject that you are teaching, and one should have compassion towards one's student, and so on and so forth. So there are 10 qualities or qualifications that a teacher must possess. So it might be difficult to find a teacher who possesses all these qualities, but it's really important to make sure that they possess a very strong practice of morality as at the bare minimum, that they should have a very strong practice of morality. And then secondly, the teacher should be well versed in the subject that he or she is going to teach. And more importantly, the teacher should believe or should have a strong conviction of what he is going to teach. Because in this day and age, we find many Buddhists, we find people who claim themselves to be Buddhist teacher, but they do not really believe in what they are teaching. So if that happens, one's practice will not become effective. And unfortunately, these days, giving Buddhist teachings, almost sometimes also there is a tendency for the Dharma to become a kind of commercial purposes. So that should not happen. So therefore, the teacher should be well versed in what he or she is going to teach, and he or she must have strong conviction in the practices that they are teaching. So then only one's practice will become effective and meaningful.
아니 직진의 캐나다 하고 그래서 근데 가리 시바이나야 nga thangbo leondi lokashijila nga de thom de resara lombadi rada hamako amizu chagyume ani chipige chigleram khodi chingin imbainaya ani nyamdu kamese ke mayondi an khonzu kari joja shabadi tangi jishya chego korasara samsamlaya ani semna lo de우메스 ro 간스나 소수 비기게 빼놨다 아니 쇼ን지긴 바이나 쇼ን디게 아니 롱기게야 메바 아니 티게야 메바 티지디다 디 맹아로디 요마라스라 다 딘지지 레 따치 소수 샘틴네 이체다 대바지에 용에 가보러다 다 딘지지 미질레시엔 슈지 펜토그르 슬라바이나 다 용금도 아스라 딱딱지 대우면 아스라 다 치스 되니 이 가르 셰바디 장고나무 중가버 침비 송질래야 또 가도 지기였으라 간서나 디기 다 지금 맹아기 규바 균로데 다 창성지였으라바이나 꺄즈 말레스 롱기 치기 안디 톨래야 다지 다 용수 줘봐 아니 대바 도트메비 대바 아니 신이 대바 예슬람은 랍초그레스라 쇼 장바인스 가주스 장바이나야 텔라지 아니 지 난가 소르제다 디지레 요요존 자와 니네 정말 매버진 제기요 반사 아니 대바도 이치 쇼이스 소소라 오늘 팽그도 아삼비 소와요 완자다 디리징 임멜 직시나 다 땡땡 팽그를 아삼비다 소소라 이치다 딩처로지 열어서라 딘디진 취시하바나 기부 빼도서라 미망부 딘디 최고 오면다서라 디 딱다 난 딱다 통문도서라
So many of you are now familiar with my kind of approach of teaching Dharma. For instance, when I first reached here, I was not familiar with the system here, and I was kind of somehow confused for some time. And then later I got familiarized with this. And then at the initial time, I would teach whatever the organizers suggest. But then later I felt a little uncomfortable teaching something that I'm not very familiar with, or teaching those subjects which I do not have the transmission and so on and so forth. So then later I decided to kind of whatever kind of teaching that I give, I make sure that they are based on some writings of Lama Tsongkhapa, because so far as the writings and so far as the works of Lama Tsongkhapa is concerned, I have received both oral transmission and explanatory transmission as well. Then, since I have also studied his kind of studied his works for many years, I feel kind of confident about teaching this, because one thing, I have the transmission, and secondly, I have unwavering faith and devotion towards the writings of Lama Tsongkhapa. So therefore, I feel very convenient, or rather comfortable and confident teaching about Lama Tsongkhapa, and I find that it will be beneficial for others as well, because I myself has strong conviction or strong faith towards this. I myself get benefited from the writings of Lama Tsongkhapa, and I think others will equally benefit from this, because the teachings also have the transmissions. And then sometimes we see that people just teach without proper transmission, and I think I'm not very sure how effective and beneficial this can be.
기긴다 게투 세디 안치지라 이체고다서라 라 이체고다 아니 이체지여바나 또 대바싱이 레르다 대발레 아니 대바지기 아니 대비 왕기 대비권을 한데 아니 지 최년시 지금바나 아니 라마들 로미기 탐식세 자마디 되니 차용 그래서 되니 차용 그래서
And then it is really important to have trust between the disciple and the student. If there is trust, then it comes kind of faith, or rather devotion. So based on this, then if one engages in teaching, receiving the teachings, then it will be beneficial and effective.
또 이제도 대바 용야디 가시 용야디 아니 연된 기차는 따고 온다서라 연된 가리 여바티 또 개긴 치고를 레모다 초보 종무지인 바이나야 그 연된 기차는 삼는 땅 두고 있나 아니 가와기야지 가신지 기라서라 파만 핀시인 바이나리 ਸਮਝਣ tamje mata gor saidi mati kadin chimbo imba tindiji thon de ondi ani ਸਮਝਣ tamje ma thong tu yak ama nanshin kadin chimbo imba samtur songra da diresro ani zasan jin bayna ku yondin ji chan tang bayna te ta chu bayna ani nyam den kibu yung gor asro gawo yung gores kanji yondin gi chan ta yadi kem yo mardas lago mar kem yor da ina ya kem gi chan de nan so kibu yo mar da 만주를 차겠다 연대기 전에 가주 투투 찍다 두바나 다들 빼야고 약수 드린다 서라
So in order to build this trust and kind of gain the admiration and devotion between the disciple and the student, it's really important to focus, or it's really important to look for the qualities of one's teacher. So the more you are able to look for the qualities of your teacher instead of the shortcomings, the more you will be able to kind of get inspired or admire, um, and the same is the true with any human relationship, even the relationship between one's own kind of partner. Um, if you could, if you can look more of the qualities of one's partner, then it will lead to more admiration and trust and so on and so forth. So if that element is lacking, if you focus more on the shortcoming of others, then it will lead to distrust and so on and so forth. So therefore, it's really when we say we must focus more on the qualities of others, it doesn't mean that the other person do not have any shortcomings. Of course, we do, but still, the more we are able to focus on the positive side and the qualities, it will help us to build a more kind of better kind of relationship with others as well.
Yep.
Hello. Shopatelek Tuptanla. So Geshe teacher, Lama, Sensei, 선생님, Professor. I have a few, but I wanted to begin with asking you with the current state, because as humankind, we are getting more intelligent with evolution and science. And I feel like a lot of people are becoming more spiritually aware as well. So in the relevance of the time now, I really wanted to ask that if it will be very necessary to become ordained or become a monastic to become enlightened in this lifetime? Or do you think it is necessary in terms of if someone wants to really understand completely Buddha's teachings, really understand Buddha's teaching, it is really good to actually experience becoming a monastic? So that's my first question. tuktaje.
tanda tiwa di diri shagena, tanda chidang tako tuyugi rinpagi tuwani, chidang rwa midi ko namchu yado nro shagayo resirwa. Pena ta tsenriki nye de mangbo shi chuni nga zo, ta nyama tuzu ta durna rwa mi chi yongi namchu di yang pen ruyo rwa. An tida nyamdo ta tida nyamdo la yang mi mangbo chigi ta ko chusho la tunang che di ko yajin nro debi sobda ruyo res. Ti chidu ta tande nekab su ani kansa chigi nangshu tseta denpa ji shen guyo na ani chigi kasa trabada ani che jorwa ko domba len chi di che di kechilu katsu inas ani ko rabchungi domba malemba chini ya chik nangshu tsende shegi dindi kokab yo ina ya na nangshu tsende ji shenpa le inji mi chi ko rabchung rugu dindi chagirewes.
Chidang Turupda Shibangawa. Nanandagi kebi ombuso pebarasra. Namju Hajang Namju Chimbo. Namju Purdu Chongwa. Tanda Turup Nishitsachibi Nangwalaya, that's Konzo Daya. Ani Jen Tunginchik. Konzo Dan Jawachita. Ani Zamblindina. Yo Marsil, Nan Lana Dig Marmato. Pemasu Kumburasra. Ani Turup Ngava Tribuna Dindigipe. Ani Namju Purdu Chongdingi. Ani Kibu Tongtang Mambu Chongyoras, right? 아니 대치디게 간주 남주디야 페리오나 마드리오는 게 싫어지를 라부터 못했으라 잠시와나.
Yes. So if you look at the kind of um, look in the 4th and 5th century onwards, there were many erudite scholars from Nalanda. So they are considered as one of the most kind of smartest or one of the most brilliant minds of that we ever see, and and so in this day and age, we can't say there are no such kind of practitioners with that kind of understanding. Um, but it's comparatively, it's really rare to find such practitioner or such scholars with that level of understanding and kind of aptitude. So I'm not very sure whether to say our intelligence have improved over time, or whether our intelligence has waned over time.
Any 당한주 다 삼주시에서 다 등자인사라 삼주 아니 당한주 들음도 순교온디다 직 미기 아니 상당다 된데 규리어레스라 아니 규르체는다 베나 우마 징한주 란종 감기 코유 란종기 아니 텐지 디기디 아니 롱체체니 미기 소로요라스라 다 덴상 페시 갸차 다 갸스다 미시다 갸차 고추 코당기 아니 제저 구스샤비 아니 텐지 디 페지 체체니 아니 소로요라스라 텔템비기 ngammatsawanini konyo tenyo medejo tsawanini medejo ta chik natsa rig mambu shoji nganzul leni ta shena sawu shoyo rasra kazan di kor dit zejur gus ki wangi chongyo rasra tel tembi mi semgam la ya pogduk roya min treden la ya ta 니섬나데 나도 양이 제 마투야지 내 수치 차샤 상구도스
Yes. Since this is a platform to share our idea, I will also place my thought here. So over time, it's our thoughts have really changed. There's been many changes with regard to how we approach life and how we live. For instance, in the early time, we survive by consuming kind of organic food. Most of what we consume are organic and natural. But nowadays, most of the things that we consume are unorganic, maybe inorganic or unorganic, basically not organic. And since they are kind of not organic, it has many negative health repercussions, many health issues that we have never heard before, because of new way of habit or new, because of consuming unorganic things. And because of such health issues, it also have impact on our overall way of thinking. So therefore, because of over reliance upon unorganic food, not only it has a negative impact on our kind of overall well-being, it also has a negative impact on our kind of spiritual well-being as well.
다드는 난주 양타바 장세디 아니 차와다 아니 치고 마고 세조라스라 다들랜드 겨운디 포나 미다 포나 야우면도 왔더라 아 민가 미 샘컴 송거라 랭 원에 타는 렌 자와나 미망불 포야기 년가 요르다스라.
Now, with regard to the question whether one should become ordained in order to become fully understand the Buddhist, principles, my honest answer might, some of you might find it kind of offensive if I give a very honest answer. So, disclaimer.
다시 든지다 지 아니 난주 천대지 냠는 치나 아니 타와 안에 제거에 요리요 말했어야 딘딩아 저ting이 총송스라 다 난주도 냠는 치는 난주 세 통불래 온디 타와다 안에 란식이 차로도스라 제 인지미 제거서 자한테 그 난주도 냠는 치는 야 셀래 온디 타와다 안에 란식이 차로 그랬다.
So at other times, I was also asked the question that it is really necessary to become ordained to practice Buddhism sincerely. So my point is that if one sincerely practices Buddhist path, one kind of naturally, one automatically become monks or nuns, even whether you consider yourself as ordained or not. If your practice is sincere, you naturally become ordained.
간선남 뉴무투섬 까거라다. 뉴무투섬 최고마디 뉴문비 님보러 와서라. 작단 뉴문비 님보러다. 작단 뉴문도 스까제네. 까야 탑시 망부 슈송얼다. 빼나 메기 주봉 설좀 시원디게 메기 주봉 설좀 송해지나 작단 뉴무 빼 용땅 살스더라. 다 메기 주봉 설좀 우토라야 다지 개닝 동보 송해지 빼나 대리 용땅 살스다. 아 다 드니 게츠는 그 동발랑 온디 빼디 다 짐마 지신 송이지 마나 차단 니무 이 완도 드러서 매겨로지 딘디지 용도 아서라 딘디지 용거 알았다 딘자 다직 제고를 고말세야디 다 제와 트사 매겨 아니 랭게 뭐 고에 매겨로지 차디었다
Um, um, and then the ultimate purpose of Dharma practice is really to eliminate one's negative emotions. And there are many means and methods to reduce or to eliminate such negative emotions. For instance, if one engage or if one practice the 10 virtuous deeds, you have really stopped many kind of potential doors of getting influenced by negative emotions. And then again, on top of that, if one could practice the morality of layperson, or then later, if you practice if you take the precepts of fully ordained monks and nuns and so on and so forth. So when you take these vows, you have basically stopped the potential what do you call it, potential rooms for getting influenced by such negative emotions. And so based on this understanding, based on these things, now there is not really necessarily to directly say whether one is required to become fully ordained or not.
단다 전주난 지겨라 전주난라야 엠버 축버 대와데 엠버 맨 데비 데세지 디페로스라 간주 수보라 마지텐 마 사브라 랑바이나 디 축바이나 대와지 뇽고라 더라 사브라 메바이나 델리짱 대와라 와스라 아 데디페레스 다 전달라야 당한주 콜비기 대와 다 착비기 대와디 amber tukba de chikbares. Ra dan dwecha de pa chikka tukba yana. Tenen dwecha maybe ki dewa chik yungro wasara. Dwecha maybe ki dewa di e yongya la dwecha ka ko kores. Dwecha ka bala tanga chawa ani chikmen dwecha ka gi isna da yongya me kyo resi reda da. Tadi ngoni kenza jiyora da ra. Chambu sheban dili ro jires.
So there is a line in Shantideva's engaging in the Bodhisattva practice where he says that it is pleasurable to scratch the scratch the source. I think scratch, when we get injured, when it's about to heal, it's quite pleasurable to scratch that. So even without that is even more pleasurable. So the point being made here is that it might be pleasurable to engage in the samsaric pleasures, mundane desire, samsaric pleasures. It might be kind of enjoyable, but without such desire is even more pleasurable. So meaning that you might find pleasurable to indulge oneself in these mundane pleasures, but complete elimination of such desire is even more pleasurable. So that's the point. So therefore, if you want to get rid of such desire, if you want to get rid of such negative emotions, then it might be irrelevant to say that I wanted to get rid of desire, but I don't want to become monk or nun. So it somehow become kind of irrelevant, because that's the only way to completely eradicate the negative emotions.
Da rikchik nangchu silawandi, da negab chik gomdes gyaya sondro chik tsibay na da kulogare mado, da nangchu jangya shu yoras darwa. Nangchu jangya shu yoras, ting sabu shu yoras. Da dilya tuzu shu tengu gara, da tuzu shu tengu gara darwa. Ani pina da migya che kimdaw songbay na, tuzu tenya kali kabu pedo asarwa. Da chawa ani chigi mana gyacha gyatamba tuzu tenya tuyagi, 고급지기 어렸더라. 캡산 체슈지기 어렸다. 무지 간살이야. 무지 간살에 디지털에 디지털에 아니 로투다라. 소소 좋아이나.
And then when we talk about Buddhist practice, if you are basically talking about simply some simple meditation practices and so on and so forth, then it might not be that much kind of important to become monks and nuns. But if you sincerely wish to engage in the most profound Buddhist practices, then becoming monk or nun will benefit you a lot, because being a lay person, we have many other commitments in our life, then we can't fully dedicate to Dhamma practice. But if we become monks and nuns, we can totally commit ourselves to the practice, so we can kind of leverage that advantage as well.
Teacher, do we have a time for online questions?
Yes, yeah, of course.
Thank you. So Prava Srinivasan asks, Geshe-la, would you please talk about bodhisattvas and children of bodhisattvas?
아니, 근데 자도기 지워직도 사기 디디리시. 근데 장주기 셈다 다 예베세 세 디콜라 직 송루치로 랍샤.
다 gyavissesena gyava sanji chomden de chagira wasra. Ani sanji chomden de gita ani loma sanji chomden de jinju ngoma jimbana da gyavisse se diteres ro.
아니, 근데 지워디 나물기 가서 장주 셈베세로 올라도 다 디데 예베세 인지르로 장주 셈베세로 개요마라.
Yomara.
Yes. So here the question is bodhisattvas and the children of bodhisattvas. So probably you're talking about children of Buddhas. So here, children of Buddhas refers, of course, to the enlightened beings, and their children refers to those practitioners who culminated the practice.
대다 장주 그 샘기 토라야 당한주 칼라 뒤즈레서
No,
배신 간주 잡 뱀바 제마 디기 당보들랭이 장주 샘 거르치나 안간주 뒤즈리 에 야부 차사로 왔어.
no. So since today, we're almost nearing to the lunch time, so we'll talk about this question in the next class,
Next Friday.
next Friday.
Yeah.
Next Friday. Okay. Teacher, this is really important. Can I please ask one question? It's okay. It's a quick one.
Yeah. You can ask, but I give answer next time.
Yes. Oh, yes. That'll be really great. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm reading Lamrim, and in Tibetan there's okay, Tuptanla, so it's under the listening to and explaining the Dharma, and about the attitude, it says there's a prayer, so like dusa cho by ngaka don du denna. This one. I want to know where I find this prayer. And it says this is important because it's written by, if I
This is
have it
Tibet
correctly.
letter.
Yeah.
Can you show
Yes.
me here? I think it's
Yeah. Yes.
피지 조르추디 인사라고.
배시 인사래.
단다 추년시 지수기 갑도아질라 도스기도.
So this prayer.
두 설주비 나 감정도 있잖아. 뒤 고유 박치 야춘제도 두던 두지리기 하는 몽라. 왼장 발치 참미니벌 로드장주 시발레 송베 나든데라. 젠진 당랍도 사바 땡이스.
Prayer.
야. 야. 뭐디 가네라 그랬어 것을.
아니네. So, Rumi, you want to know where you can find this text, or you want to know about more about this text? What's the question?
So what I translated is that, so before doing the practice, you clean yourself, you get prepared and things, and then it says if you do this prayer, mantra for subjugating demons, it's good. Well, it's an instruction. So I want to know where I can find this prayer.
아니네, 어르샤 간이라 그랬으리시게나.
야, 규칙 세내라나 당장 지금.
안나서.
And if I translate it correctly, gyatso, does it refer to Manjushri? It says that it's written by Manjushri or not?
디 지준 점비양기 송 지기나메나 라디시.
말해봐.
인지 말지 고마뉴샤.
니따다지 라야메스키.
Yes. So, no, not very sure as of now. We'll do some, digging and find.
Yeah. Okay, yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you.
Final Lamrim prayer. From my two types of merits vast the space that I have amassed from working with effort at this practice for a grand length of time. May I become the chief leading Buddha for all those whose minds' wisdom eye is blinded by ignorance. Even if I do not reach this state, may I be held in your loving compassion for all life's Manjushri. May I find the best of complete graded paths of the teachings, and may I please all the Buddhas by my practice. Using skillful means drawn by the strong force of compassion, may I clear the darkness from the minds of all beings, with the points of the path as I have discerned them. May I uphold the Buddha's teachings for a very long time. With my heart going out with great compassion, in whatever direction the most precious teachings have not yet spread, or once spread have declined, may I reveal this treasure of happiness and aid. May the minds of those who wish for liberation be granted boundless peace, and the Buddha's deeds be nourished for a long time. By even this graded path to enlightenment completed, due to the wondrous virtuous conduct of the Buddhas and their sons, may all human and non-human beings who eliminate adversity and create conducive conditions for practicing the excellent paths never be parted in any of their lives from the purest path praised by the Buddhas. Whenever someone makes effort to act in accordance with the tenfold Mahayana virtues practices, may he always be assisted by the mighty ones, and may oceans of prosperity spread everywhere. And pray for the long life of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Incomparably kind and supreme Tenzin Gyatso, the wish-granting, wish-fulfilling jewel, source of every single benefit and happiness in this world, may you have a long life and all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. And pray for the swift return of Lama Zopa Rinpoche. Peerless teacher and assembly of the children of the victorious ones, Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas, victorious Losang father and sons, along with the lineage masters, all the objects of refuge of infinite lands, please bestow the virtue and goodness of accomplishing this prayer here and now, holding and spreading the Muni's precious and complete teachings through explanation and practice. You wore the armor of patience that is never discouraged. Incomparable venerable Guru, to you I make request. While striving single-pointedly for the sake of the victorious one's teachings, the sole gateway through which all benefit and happiness emerge, and for mother living beings, you suddenly departed to peace. What a great loss! Nevertheless, through the undeceiving truth of the blessings of the ocean of the three jewels, and the great waves of bodhicitta of the children of the victorious ones, may the smile of a reincarnation swiftly beam in a glory for fortunate disciples. Thank you very much. And we invite you also to join us for this Sunday teaching with Geshe-la at 10:30. Thank you.